Welcome to Slot Car Family. Today we're going to talk a little bit about this one particular brand of generic car that I've mentioned in numerous videos previously. The brand is the ones that look like the cars you see here. These are basically the four type that you can buy, or at least the four types that I found from this particular brand. They have these two tuner cars that I've used as drones quite a bit in some of my videos, as well as these two style LMP type cars that I've used also in many of my videos. Well, as I've mentioned in some of those videos, the main problem with those cars is that the guide is not replaceable. It is basically built into the chassis, and eventually it breaks off. And if you know all the way back from one of my earliest videos about the crazy fast drone race, I literally had to machine off the hump where the guide was, and I glued in a little piece of a guitar pick there to make a guide. But anyway, this car, since it's had its motor burned up and it's been used for parts and everything, so it's a junkyard car at this point. This one just recently, or actually a while back, broke off its guide, and I'm going to fix it today. And I figured it's time for me to show you guys how I do it. So step one, we're looking at the chassis here, and you're seeing what's left of the guide. There's just that little bit that's left sticking up, and that's not enough to grab the track. It was, all the way out to about here, and that end piece broke off. So the first thing we need to do is remove what's left of this guide. And I'm just using these little snips right here, and that works pretty good. Son of a gun, that worked really good. It flew across the room somewhere. I don't know where it went. But the next thing we want to do is remove these brushes, because I want to use a Dremel tool that has this tool here on it to get in between here and smooth this, and I don't want to dork those brushes up too much while I'm doing it. Well, maybe I can get to it if I'm real careful. How much room we got there, Bubba? Okay, I think we're going to give it a shot. We're going to try this the lazy man's way. Normally I would have removed these brushes. What I'm trying to do here is make a flat spot. A nice flat spot there. And I'm not quite there yet. We're going full power now. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. I do feel pretty good about that. Now, once you got this part smoothed out, you basically just have flat plastic chassis here, and what I'm going to do is put a guide from a different brand of car in there. This is one of the guides from the other generic brands, and you could just as well use the Carrera guide if you wanted to, but I think the Carrera guide is just a tiny bit taller, and when I've used the Carrera guide before, I've had to sand off a little bit of it in order to make it work on the track and not just drag through. When I've used these, they glue straight in and everything's good. I don't have to mess with it. Now the next trick here is we'll see where we needed to put the hole, and we flip it over, and where that hole needed to be is really going to be, well, actually it's a little bit different on this car. Son of a gun. It's a little bit different on all these, and now that I've cut off that spot, I can't tell exactly where the pin was supposed to go. And because I smoothed it out so well, that's okay. We're not going to worry about that too much. What I'm going to do is just grab a different drill bit and drill a hole where I think this guide should go, because I got a pretty good eye for it. Well, let's see how it goes. Bear with me a moment while I change tools, please. I've got to get a drill bit. Now here's a little hint. often when you're drilling holes, for folks that don't know, it's often better, especially if you're trying to get precision, to use a smaller drill bit, especially a really small drill bit, to kind of get a pilot hole going. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to hopefully get this in the right spot. Now, you guys aren't going to be able to see this very well, but there's a standoff right here. And in on some of the other cars, I realized where the pin needed to be was just barely in front of that standoff. Now, I'm looking at this one, and it feels like it wants to be a little bit further forward than that. So I'm going to just drill a hole. Get my piece of wood here. Another thing we always need is a piece of wood to drill on. So I'm going to have to do this a little bit differently where I can see what I'm doing. Alright, maybe you can see on the background there where I put that little tiny hole. I tried to make it centered and just a little bit forward of that standoff that things can screw to. Feels like it's a pretty good situation, pretty good spot. It's not a big enough hole. I need to drill the bigger hole now. So bear with me again while I change tools, please. We'll be right back. I'm trying to do this in as few videos as possible, so that's why we have to stick around for the tool changes, otherwise I'd have to stop and we'd have to go to a new video. Now I think this is the right size bit. I am really hoping it is the right size bit because it's the one that was in there looking like the right size bit. So we're going to use this. Alright, now I've got a hole, and I think that hole's going to be the right size for this to push into if I grab some pliers and give it a little mechanical advantage. Okay, let's see what happens here. No? Yeah, there we go. Okay, just took a little bit of extra pushing, and it's in there. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. The hole's the right size. It's pretty tight in there. Now the next thing I'm going to have to do is glue that sucker on. And I've showed you guys before on some other videos about this Bondic glue. This is what I'm going to use for this. It's that glue that is set by UV light. And you get, in this case, I've got kind of like this little pen thing of it. It's meant to be carried around in your pocket or purse, you know, just in case you need to glue something on the spot in an emergency. You've got glue with you at all times. So we're going to try to squeeze some of it out right in here. I'm going to get it all underneath and sort of build a little bit of it up around there. Man, I'm hoping I'm not running out of glue because it doesn't feel like much is wanting to come out. Oh boy. Okay, there we go. So I might be in trouble there for a minute. Alright, so I'm going to try to push that down in there real nice. I'm also looking at the other side, and I think I can put a few drops on this side too. I've done that in the past. Yeah, I'm down to the last of this glue. It's really hard for me to get it out of here. Sorry, folks. Alright, well, I'm going to hope that amount of glue there is going to be sufficient. And I'm going to double check this is pressed in nice and tight. Now the good thing about this glue, it really does kind of set on its own, I think, even without UV light, or maybe it's just getting enough UV light to kind of start setting after you put it in position. And so it allows you to kind of move things around, get things adjusted, and then you get out the little light they give you and turn it on, and I think they want about 5 seconds. I tend to use it for more than that. But anyway, I'm shining the UV light on the glue, getting it hardened, made sure it was nice and straight everywhere I wanted it to be, and now I'm hitting it all around with this UV, about 5 seconds, 10 seconds per area. I'm going to hit that little bit that I put on the inside too. Now, I had actually expected to pull the brushes out in order to fix this guide situation. And so part of my instructions here today were going to be about brush replacement, or they would have been included in this whole thing. I'm going to kind of show you some little tips about it while I'm at it, just for, I guess, for a little bonus, in case some of you folks have interchanged the brushes or have never changed the brushes on these generic cars. Now I like to feel it, make sure it feels good and hard, and it does. I feel like we're in good shape here. Hope I'm not running out of battery. No, I'm going to just give it a last little push just to make sure. Okay. Put my cap back on the glue, make sure that's whatever's left of it is still good for next time I need it. And so now we've got our guide pin installed. I've got an extra piece of track over here. What I always recommend doing when you're doing this kind of stuff is to take an extra piece of track and check it out. Make sure you're not too high or whatever's going on here. And right off the bat, I think this one is too high. Wow, this is going to be too hard for you to see, but I guess you can see it. The car's not quite sitting down on its wheels. So I'm going to have to sand off a little bit from the bottom here of this pin. And I'm going to use a tool for that too. In fact, we'll go back to the first tool we used. It'll work good for that job. So we're going back to using this. And I'm just going to just very lightly take a little bit off of this pin. And then we'll take a look at it and see what I've done. And I have not taken off enough. Boy, whatever these pins are made out of, it's pretty tough stuff. Yeah, see? I've barely taken anything off of it. Be careful because I don't want to take off too much. I'd like for it to be long. Well, we're getting closer. Still needs a little bit more taken off. I don't know if you can see that there, yeah? Doggone it. It still needs to have more taken off. Well, you know something? I think I don't really need to show all this on camera. Sorry. I think I don't really need to show all this on camera. You guys get the idea. We're just going to grind the bottom of this off a little bit until it fits into this slot just perfectly, and the car isn't rocking back and forth on that slot or on that pin. We want it to be just barely resting on its wheels. Alright, well, I hope you guys got something out of that, and thanks for watching.